Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB strategy show. Much better, larger slate than yesterday. We got a 13 gamer to take us into the weekend. Yeah. So glad to have you here. Let's have some fun with this one. And if you don't mind, take a second. Just a subtle reminder to atone for your sins this morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Leave a comment down below if you're listening or watching after the fact. Appreciate you guys for that in advance. Thomas, Steven, AJ, Ryan, Fistula, Richie, CM, Cujo, what's good, fellas? Andy, hey, and our old friend, the Stoner. Baseball and bong rip season continues from Garden City, Colorado. Antoine, sorry. And Harold, hey, all right, let's do it. Let's have some fun. Big slate, 13 games, and I'll tell you something out of the gate. I just recorded the perfect lineup video with Josh. Check that out today. It's going to be a good one for sure. Doing a little something different there. And, of course, you can always get a free week of the MLB Sims by commenting and getting the top stack right. You may be the only one to guess it today. We had 84 answers on Monday, and not a single person got it right, which is crazy. So if you're the only one, there you go, free week of the Sims. But check it out anyway. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy the video and get something useful out of it, especially for those of you who don't have a ton of time in the day. But yeah, man, let's do it. One thing I'll mention on that video that I'll mention right now is I don't think on a usually on a 13 gamer, one of the plays is like, all right, you can, no problem, let's pay up for an elite pitcher. You can do that today for sure. You know, you've got Brian Wu against the high strikeout Angels team, and he's just very, very efficient, can work deep into essentially every single game. I think he's gone 6+ innings in every game he's pitched this year, which is nuts. Good pitcher, but very expensive. Angels have some pop, better park by far than T-Mobile. You got Logan Webb, 9,300 at home, going up against the New York Mets, who appear to be clawing out of that hole they dug themselves into, actually sitting game up at first in the NL East right now. You could go there as well. But what I'm getting at is I don't think you actually need to pay a premium for pitchers, either of them. I think you can go cheap, mid-range, lower mid-range at both. So we'll get there. Jake said Soriano and Freeland made it into the dummy lineup. You know, I was really thinking about Soriano today, and you guys know this from watching the show, hanging out with me over the course of the year, and especially recently with Soriano. What's the one thing we've noticed with him? I can tell you. With Jose Soriano, this guy has been night and day when it comes to lefties and righties. If he's going up against the righty-heavy, I always say, I wish he could face his own team. If Soriano could go up against the Angels every 5 days, I'm pretty sure that he would never not go 8+ innings. You know, just a righty-heavy baseball team with a lot of power. Soriano completely nukes power, doesn't give up home runs. He's allowed 5 all season long across 120 innings. But there is something to be concerned about when it comes to lefties versus righties. He has a 17% K rate against lefties, 23.6% against righties. Not great. You know, you look at the 401 xFIP against lefties, 297 against righties. So it's not just run prevention, but it's also the fact that he doesn't get the same amount of swings and misses, the same amount of strikeouts. And if that's the case, do you really want that type of player against the Mariners? That's my concern. I could see myself getting the sum of him, but I think there's better spots. You know, look at this. 10% swinging strike rate against lefties, 15 almost percent against righties. It's crazy, right? To me, that makes a difference. You look at the, ex-WOBA against lefties, 328, 308 against righties. Really not that big of a difference. Nothing crazy stands out. 115x ISO against lefties and righties alike. He doesn't give up power. But the strikeouts, you're talking legitimate 7% difference in K rate versus lefties and righties. And how many lefties do we expect to see in this Mariners lineup today? If you're including switch hitters, 5, right? 1, 2, Six. So I just, the upside there concerns me a little bit. That's all. Ronald, Kikuchi's banned as well. It sucks because Kikuchi looked fine. What was it? Through 4 innings, right? Like 4 innings, 1 earned on a solo shot to Julio and 4 Ks. He looked fine. But hey, how about Eric Lauer? Damn, dude. Eric Lauer popped off. Absolutely went nuts yesterday. That was amazing. And not just Lauer, but the 3 guys we talked about getting to the most. Kikuchi, we tamped him down a little bit, fortunately, but still had Kikuchi. It was Lauer, and we said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to roll the dice here because it's an ugly slate. It's only 4 games, and we're going to take our chances on Luis Severino. Severino went 7 2-run innings with 8 Ks. So if you happen to have that combo working for you, which a lot of people did, that's all we need, you know? But on a 4-game slate too, you want to be playing multiple lineups. We actually had a close friend of the show and big supporter of Stochastic, Joey Prindle. Love listening to the strategy show. Hey, thanks, pal. The analysis is the best in the business. Shout out to my guys at Stochastic. Let's go. He actually took down 10K yesterday, first place. Not sure what contest that would have been, with Lauer and Severino. Almost 58 DK points between those 2 guys. Right? And a 4-man Seattle stack. Remember, on the show we talked, and look, I'm going to get plenty wrong. This isn't like a pat on the back here, but it is a way of saying when we can make some small adjustments into the tools, good things happen. We built out a lineup. We went with the 3-man Seattle and the single lineup since, but we also gave a 15% boost to the Seattle Mariners. And he had a 4-man Seattle? 4-4-4 Seattle, Toronto. No, it wasn't. 4 Seattle with how many Toronto? A 4-2. Is it a 4-2-2? What am I missing here? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5-2-1. A 5-2-1. How about that? You know what's funny about that? So I interviewed Martin. His name was Martin. Gizmo, you've seen him, Lithuma, up top the leaderboards. Guys taking down 400,000 with the help of the Sims tools over the last 2 calendar months. Almost exactly 2 calendar months. He DM'd me. I hope he's in here. What's up, dude? If you are. He DM'd me 2 months ago. It was May 20th and asked for the code. 2 days later, took down 50K. Since then, $400,000 of wins. I'm not saying that happens to everyone. You still need to get a bit lucky. But you also have to know what you're doing. I interviewed him on Wednesday. It was an awesome interview. Dude's awesome. He's actually from France. He came over here 10 years ago and moved to Boston. That interview is up on YouTube. Highly suggest you check that out. Highly suggested. It's only 15 minutes long, and he doesn't hold back. Like he was telling me and us like how he's actually finding edges within the tools and using that to his advantage in using the Sims. K McD, that was great, Laffy. Just watched before this. Awesome, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. My hope was, number one, want to shout him out, because why would you not? But also to make something, and I tried to speak as little as possible and let him speak. Obviously, when you're talking to guys who aren't on camera all the time, you have to do a little bit of fluff there, right? It's just the way it goes. But just like let him speak. And he had some awesome, Kyle would agree, he had some really great information. And the one thing he said was he's like, the 5-2-1 has been the most profitable build, most tournament winning build forever now. And I don't want to, I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to butcher what he was saying. It's just funny that Joey and I show that lineup right there, and it's yet another 5-2-1. So check that out on YouTube. I think you guys will enjoy it. Leave a comment, whether you're shouting him out or just giving your thoughts on the video. I really think you'll like it. But yeah, it's in there. 37%, he said. Thank you, Kyle. It's fresh in your mind, right? But yeah, 37%. Yeah, Ryan, it's in the Stochastic YouTube. Fish always told Davies ESPN material interview skills are above par. It's funny you say that. First of all, thanks. But I've always thought my interview skills are subpar because I don't do it a lot. And I'm a talker. And sometimes I think with appropriate interviewing, you want to just like set it up and then stop talking. I'm more than aware of my inability to stop talking sometimes, but sometimes that works in your favor. Other times it doesn't. Anyway, check that out. I think you guys will really like it. All right, let's get into some DFS baseball for tonight. I got a promo for you guys as well, but I'll get to it later. So, number one, look at the top two pitcher probabilities today. Logan Webb's up there against the Mets. That's in a great park, Oracle Park. It's up there with the best, T-Mobile. We know that. But then, do we just get to the elephant in the room here? Dean Kramer against the Rockies. I mean, look, the Rockies do have a 4.4 total. Who cares? That's not that high. They're bad. I know. I understand that Kramer only has a 20% K rate on the season, but if you look at his last 10 outings, he's been really good. He's averaging 6 innings per appearance, sub 3 FIP, 24% K rate. He's been solid. And the Rockies are just so bad. Take every metric for a pitcher and bump it 5%. Bump the K rate 5%. Rockies have a 28% K rate on the road. 3% higher than any other team. They have the highest K rate in baseball against righties with dead last WRC plus. Bottom 2 in WRC plus and WOBA away from home. They're a horrible baseball team. There's going to be days where they hit well. It happens. They do have a little bit of power, but it's not significant at all. So Einsteinium mentions that he'd rather have sorry, I had a phone call come in. Would rather pay $700 more for Mackenzie Gore. Yeah, I suppose that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But Gore has not been all that strong lately. The fact that Minnesota has a 5-run implied total, I think that should be alarming for anybody. That isn't to say that Gore isn't in play. He definitely is at 8,700. 17.5 outs prop. You have Kramer at 18.5. If you look at strikeouts, Mackenzie Gore is at 5.5, minus with some juice to the over. Take a sharp book like Circa or Penny, both of them in the minus 130 range. But if you take Kramer minus or 5.5, minus 130 here, minus 125, very similar. Earned runs on Kramer today, 2.5, minus 117 on Penny to the under. If you want to look at Mackenzie Gore, he's sitting at 2.5, minus 129. So just taking props into consideration, these guys look very, very, very similar. Very similar. As a matter of fact, you'd give the slight edge to Kramer here because he is $700 cheaper and you have a lower implied total for a much worse team in the Colorado Rockies. So do I dislike Mackenzie Gore? No, not at all. But I do think there's something to be said when you look at these props. And these props have guided us. Why do you think we ended up getting significantly less Sonny Gray than the field yesterday when we were talking about this, going through the Sims, discussing all of that? Well, we look at Sonny Gray. Dude, his props were in alignment with Luis Severino at like $3,000 more. If that's the case, it becomes a no-brainer, doesn't it? Does it mean you fade him? No, but it means that we should definitely be looking at that. So I think there's a couple guys I like here. First of all, Kramer, I'll play anyone against Colorado. I'm serious. You take a decent pitcher and they just become a very good pitcher. Doesn't mean every start, but the way they profile, they're going to profile as a much better pitcher in that matchup against the Rockies. Can we talk about Matthews, though? Oh, Zebby Matthews. Can we dig into this? And Jake, I could not agree more. It was the first thing I thought when I pulled up the tools this morning to do the perfect lineup. Absolutely. And Jake's comment, which I think anybody would notice looking at these, whether you're a premium sub or not, saying that it's odd seeing the top two value percentage being so flat. It's also odd seeing the top two pitcher probability being so flat. No? I mean, I understand it's a big slate, but look at this. You have nobody above 16, let's say 17%, and you've got 9 guys. If you include Soriano and round up, you have 10 pitchers between 10 and 17%. No one stands out. You have 10 in between 2 and 5%. So I think Zebby's actually really interesting today. Fistula, post-breakout Rockies aren't a pushover, though. Yeah, but are we looking at this as a breakout, or are we looking at this as it's a 17 game or 107 6? I almost said 17 like we're talking football here. I was getting some best ball drafts in this morning. I'm up to 60. So we got a little over 2 per day to go to get that 150 in the DK Millie. But it's a 162 game season. Is this a Rockies breakout, or is this just more variance? To me, I mean, I think we're still looking at a game of variance. Like, yeah, they've scored 6 and 4 or 6 and 8 runs over their last 2 games in Colorado. Prior to that, though, 2, 1, then 10 in Colorado. 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 5. So I'd be hard pressed to consider that a breakout. You know? Point being on Zeb, though, if you look at this guy, he threw like 37 innings last year, 23 this year. Hasn't been very good from a run prevention standpoint, but the one thing I do like is that I think he's been unlucky. He has a 410 BABIP, low 60% strand rate, striking out 29.5% of the batters he's faced. He's always been someone that can rack up strikeouts at a high clip. And Fistula, I'm not saying Colorado can't go out there against Dean Kramer and have a game. What I'm saying is, just because they had a stretch of decent games, you should be far more inclined to look at the larger picture here on such a big season. And not all that much has changed. They have a few guys that maybe show some promise at this level, but for the most part, you look at that lineup, there's nobody you're saying, man, we got 5 future all-stars if they can keep it up, you know? Still just not a good lineup. Anyway, back to what I was saying about Zebby Matthews. $7,100, 4.5K prop, heavily juiced to the over, like minus 170. 15.5 outs prop. And Washington, believe it or not, look, they have a bottom 5 total. They have the same total as the Angels going up against Brian Wu today. This isn't a apples to apples comparison for Matthews and Wu, so don't think I'm saying that. What I am saying is that at 7,100, I think he looks pretty damn good. Pretty damn good at that price point. Top 2 value, second on the slate, only behind Emmett Sheehan in Boston against in Fenway against the Red Sox. I think it's a good spot. You know, if you're pairing Kramer and Matthews together, you're paying 15-1 combined for pitching today. You've got like 10 teams with implied totals at 5 or higher. I like that. I like that. Now, if you're talking about some of the other options on this slate, I think number 1, Kramer and Zeb are probably going to get a decent amount of exposure in the Sims. Have to think Logan Webb at 9,300 in a good park as well. Maybe some Brian Wu, Mackenzie Gore. I could see that for sure. Slightly positively leveraged, not getting a lot of ownership. Imanaga's positively leveraged. 9,900 against the White Sox. What do we do with him today? What do we do with this guy? That's a tough question. It's actually a really tough question because, he was out for an extended period of time, right? He missed, what was it? Like almost 2 months. Since returning, he's been good. His last 2 starts, he's been stellar against the Red Sox and against the Yankees, neither of which are pushover matchups. The only thing about Imanaga that I think we would all agree upon is at almost 10K, you're still talking about an 18% K rate. I don't love that. And you know what I don't love about that is that if he happens to stumble a little bit, which can happen to the best of pitchers, and he does give up, a 3-run shot, it's the only runs he's allowed on the day. Can he make up for it elsewhere? Can he make up for it with strikeouts? I'd say it's highly unlikely, but it is a good matchup. And that's why there's part of me that goes, shit, this guy might honestly go like 8 innings today. He's thrown 91 and 96 pitches over his last 2 starts. Does this just end up being a game where Shota Imanaga doesn't really need to have 10 strikeouts? And I hate to look at it this way sometimes because strikeouts are the driving force behind what makes a guy a really good DFS pitcher. But I do think sometimes there can be exceptions. And in the case of Imanaga, it's a good matchup, right? Like you're talking about a 3.7 run implied total for the White Sox, lowest on the slate. It's a good matchup. And there's part of me that doesn't want to just overlook him because he doesn't rack up a ton of Ks. So maybe I'm looking at this all wrong. Totally possible. But I don't want to fade entirely if he's really only going to get 5% ownership. That's another thing. If he's really pulling 5% ownership where's he at in top 2 pitcher probability? Top 5? Maybe we shouldn't just ignore him. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Very curious to see where you guys stand. Also, only 76 degrees in Chicago today. It's not like you got this oppressive heat either. And you could say, yeah, the White Sox are better against lefties than they are against righties. I wouldn't argue that. But they also have the 7th highest K rate. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd be willing to get to a little if the Sims didn't give us any. Yeah, I would. Lee Price, if I'm spending up, it's on Nathan Eovaldi. All right, you against Atlanta, 9,600. What a weird pitching slate. He's slightly positively leveraged, 3.9 total. You take a look at this Atlanta team against righties on the active roster. They are middle of the road. No surprise. Pretty much middle of the road everywhere. 155 ISO, 19th. Yeah, they're between like 12 and 20 everywhere. Gavin Williams against Kansas City. He's got good stuff. This Royals team is not particularly good. Kauffman Stadium, pitcher friendly. I could see it. A lot of these guys are going to be positively leveraged today because you have so many pitchers. And then you have Nick Pivetta against St. Louis. I don't really love that spot. 92 degrees there as well. We know that park plays really well for hitters when it's hot. Also potential for weather as well. Pavetta's good, great strikeout stuff, but at 10-2, I probably don't get to a ton of him there. But man, if you're looking to get leverage on some of these guys, how often do you see this where you've got a $9,900 guy against the White Sox with a 25% K rate against lefties, getting the highest leverage percentage on the slate? Pavetta's another really talented pitcher with near 30% strikeout stuff, getting 6% leverage. You don't see that very often. Now, I think it's also fair to say that we can just eliminate some of these guys. You know, I don't have much interest in Kiter Montero against Toronto. We already know from a strikeout standpoint, that team, lowest K rate in the league versus lefties and righties. Miles Michaelis against San Diego. Taijuan Walker absolutely stinks. Honestly, give me all the Yankees I can get in a spot like that. I'm telling you, Taijuan Walker is no good. Game's at Yankee Stadium. It's going to be hot as shit, 88 degrees, winds blowing out at 9 miles per hour to right center. I mean, how do you not love that spot for the Yankees? Nick Martinez against Tampa. I have more respect for Nick Martinez than I think a lot of people. It doesn't mean I ever really want to roster him, but I think he's like a respectable pitcher, if nothing else, you know? He's not great. He's not terrible. He just manages to stick around all the time. So, yeah. Einsteinian, why are the Phillies rolling out Taijuan Walker? Well, Nola's still not back. Yeah, Lee said it. Mick Abel just wasn't the guy. Einsteinium, I'd rather take the chance on Painter. Did I mention I went to an Iron Pigs game, which, by the way, AAA games are sick. I had no idea how cool and family friendly they are. $2 hot dogs. Beers are way cheaper. Sit wherever you want. And I got to watch Painter go out and throw a 6-inning scoreless gem, which was pretty fun. But yeah, Taijuan Walker, they always somehow get him back into the rotation. Guy stinks. Stinks. Brian Bayo against the Dodgers. We're probably not going there, even though he's been far better recently. Joey Wentz against Texas. Do we want Joey Wentz here against a bad Texas team? He's $6,000. I honestly think it was it Einsteinium that mentioned it at the top, and maybe Jake as well? The Orioles are so bad against lefties that maybe Kyle Freeland makes a little bit of sense. He's up there in top value. It's clearly not very good, but he's up there. What about, though, you guys mentioned Kyle Freeland. What about the thing that sucks about Joey Wentz, because I don't know how many pitches this guy throws. The Rangers against lefties are legitimately terrible. Like, you look at this team against lefties, they have a 70 WRC plus, dead last in the league, worst in Baltimore, 269 WOBA, worst in Baltimore, worst in Pittsburgh, terrible, 129 ISO, bottom 5, bottom 6, whatever that may be. Bad, man. 26.7% K rate, second highest in the league behind only Pittsburgh. The problem is with Wentz, what are we getting out of him? He has he thrown more than 60 pitches in a game this season? He hasn't. 50 and 59. That's where he's topped out over the last two starts. And then, look, you have no strikeout prop. You have no pitching outs. You have no earned run prop. I don't know what to make of him. I'll say this much. If later in the day we happen to get more news on Joey Wentz, that maybe his pitch count is ramped up, he can throw 80 and props come out, then maybe that's viable. because Texas really is just abysmal against lefties. So just keep that in mind if we get any news throughout the day. You got Greg and Eric. They do an awesome job on Live Before Lock. They'll know if anything pops up on him. But for the time being, if you haven't thrown more than 60 pitches and 59 is your tops, and you've only gone over 50 twice, you can't do that right now, despite how bad this Texas team is. Einsteinium, serious question, Lavi. Can we consider Jose Barrios? Do we really believe in Detroit? All right, so let's break this down. Yes, we should believe. You should absolutely believe in Detroit that they're a good baseball team. Are they going through a rough stretch right now? Absolutely. We don't know when they're going to start. We don't know when that type of stretch, whether it's a hot streak or a cold streak, is going to end. Yesterday was objectively different than today. We got to a lot of Eric Lauer yesterday. He ended up being awesome, right? Did he go 8? Did he go 8 one-run innings? I think he did. But here's the difference. Yesterday, you had 8 pitchers on a 4-game slate. Today, you have 26 pitchers on a 13-game slate. Barrios is definitely inexpensive. So, there's a check in the box towards rostering him. But so are a lot of these other guys. We don't really have much of a shortage when it comes to pitching today. And I like Jose Barrios. He's a good pitcher. But he's an average strikeout pitcher. And Detroit, look, on the season overall, do we want to take that risk? Do we want to play that game? Yesterday, more than willing to do so. Today, I think it's a tough ask. So that's kind of just the way I look at somebody like Jose Barrios. It's more so much bigger slate than yesterday. Lee, yeah, it was the only reason he hit his K prop going so deep. Figured I was screwed. That might be what we get with Imanaga today too. Who knows? Anthony, Tampa's one of the better stacks against Martinez. Sure. I mean, look, it's the Great American Small Park. Could have a little bit of rain, but doesn't look to be a big issue. 88-degree temperatures. That park is always. Plus, Great American Ballpark. My buddy Ben Pritchett used to work with him at Fantasy Insiders back, I'm talking over a decade ago now. If anyone knows Ben, natural slugger, man, then you've been around for a long time. I mean, he also did stuff with Roto Grinders. I'm not saying like no one knows who he is, but I mean like from the Fantasy Insider days. His college football information, before you had any of these tools, used to be incredible. He was telling me about Christian McCaffrey when McCaffrey was in high school. Just awesome guy, incredible college knowledge. But he would always say, he called them Misty Dongs. It was Great American Ballpark after the rain on hot days in the summer. It would just be a total bandbox, man. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at here. So I think both sides of that. Honestly, even Cincinnati against Zach Littell. I have no problem doing something like that either. Let's see which of these guys are giving up the most pop on the season. Hold on a second. See, because wasn't Littell giving up a ton of power earlier in the year? Let's see our home runs per 9. There still is 1.77 home runs per 9 for Zach Littell. Woo! Montero gives up a lot of pop as well. Going to put a lot of balls in play against Toronto today. They don't strike out. Miles Michaelis, Jeffrey Springs, Taijuan Walker. Honestly, this number is going to come up on Walker if they keep letting him start. He's going to be north of 2, particularly against lefties. Guy gives up so much power to lefties. Steven, yeah, 10 years is a long time in DFS. It hasn't been around much, 2012? Ronald, how about a Padres stack in St. Louis against Michaelis? Sure. Hot as hell there, 92 degrees. We're going to get to our stacks in just a second, but let's take a look at our pitching exposures. Let's do it. And by the way, I mentioned to you guys, though, that interview with Martin, check that out. 400K in 2 months using these tools. Just really amazing insight. Kyle, who had mentioned earlier, he watched it before the show. It's only 15 minutes long. I really think you guys will love it. And whether you are here's the cool thing. Whether you're a premium subscriber to The Sims, I mean, if you are, it's going to help you a lot. And you're just going to like this guy. He's really cool. He popped into StreamYard and he had this like thick French accent. I was like, I didn't expect that. But yeah, I came over here 10 years ago, just started diving into DFS when it was still in its relative infancy. Really cool. He pulls back the curtain, gives a lot of great info. Also, for today only, if you guys want and you haven't done so yet, 15% off any weekly or monthly package that we have. Yeah, baby. That's not just core. That's max weekly, max monthly. That's all access monthly. 15% is actually a really big discount considering this is off any promo that you want. Any single one that you want, which is pretty significant. So if you're interested in that, which I would hope you are, MLB DFS is the promo code. See that right there? MLB DFS on the left side of that graphic. Get 15% off any weekly or monthly subscription. Literally, that's max, that's all access, that's core, that's any monthly or weekly subscription we have, 15% off with promo MLB DFS. Just use that link in the description right there and click it, and you got it. You're in. MLB DFS is the promo, 15% off any weekly or monthly, including all access, which we very rarely discount. All right, pitcher exposures for today. What's do we got? Kramer up top. Lots going on there. A lot going on. Logan Webb. All right, a lot of Logan Webb, too. I didn't expect to have that much. Matthews, I did expect to get some of him. Just seeing his props and the price point and the implied total for Washington, 23%. There you go, Einsteinium. 15% Mackenzie Gore, 8% Soriano. So who are we not getting to? Very little Shota Imanaga. I want to boost him a little bit. I'm going to. If he's really only getting 5-6%, I'd like to get, at least 2x the field there. Not a lot of Freeland, Evaldi, Gavin Williams, Will Warren against Philly. No surprise. Hot as hell. Yankee Stadium. Tough matchup. Phillies are swinging the bat pretty well right now. Jeffrey Springs. Emmett Sheehan, we're getting 6%. Wu, 8%. Soriano, 8%. All right. But here are your top four. Kramer, Webb, Matthews, and Gore. Now, of course, like we did yesterday, and I think it helped us, because while we still had a lot of Kikuchi, we got a lot less of him. We got more of Seattle. We saw our friend Joey Prindle take down 10K with that 5-2-1 Seattle, which is awesome, and was kind enough to shout out the strategy show. Appreciate you, Joey. And of course, the tools. I know this guy has been using the Sims for a while because he already has 2 rings from the Ring of Honor, 2 20K plus wins. I think one was 100. But that's what we've got. Take a look at our stacks here, but first I want to pull up the top stacks tool. Top stack probability is flat. Yankees at 8% against Taijuan Walker. Baltimore against Freeland, 7%. They have a massive total there. I wouldn't mind fading a little bit of Baltimore. Dodgers against Brian Bayo. Who, to be fair to Brian Bayo, and that's what we do here, we try to tell the truth, is he's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. Tampa against Martinez. Whoever mentioned that earlier, there you go. 4th highest top stack probability, really tied for second when you think about it. Philly against Will Warren. I like that spot actually, but they're not going to come at a discount. So if you're playing Kramer and you're playing a Zebby, or you're playing a cheap Freeland that some of you guys talked about, that actually becomes pretty easy to do. If you're playing an Emmett Sheehan, it becomes easy to do. Same with the Cubs, easier to do. Bet that value score is in the basement. Like, look at the stack score for some of these teams. Baltimore against Freeland, Yankees against Walker, Houston against Jeffrey Springs. I always like that spot. Dodgers against Bayo, Seattle against Soriano. That's kind of a fun spot, right? Are we on the same page here with that Seattle spot? Like we talked about yesterday against Kikuchi, where Kikuchi could have a great game or Seattle could be very viable. They didn't even score a lot of runs yesterday. They just hit for a ton of power. Sometimes that's helpful. Soriano doesn't give up a lot of power, but we've seen him implode at times. I remember that Boston start not long ago against Washington. He got blown up. If this guy unravels, he unravels, and Seattle's exactly the type of team, assuming they run out 6 lefties today, that can do it to him. They got some power hitting, switch hitting bats. I kind of like that spot. Tampa against Martinez. Now, our top value score, this is going to tell us a lot. Houston against Springs. Everything I'm seeing with Houston right now suggests that we're probably going to get a decent amount of them in the Sims. Just because Washington's up there, or sorry, White Sox are up there, doesn't mean we'll get a lot of them. I think we can take some guesses here, as we always do. Top 3 stacks, combined exposure. I'll go Houston, Baltimore, and Yankees. Houston, Baltimore, and Yankees. Let's see what we got. I have not looked yet. You'll know if I'm wrong that I haven't looked yet. Well, I got 1 and 2. I got Houston. I got Baltimore. Just seeing the stack score plus the implied total, top value, top stack probability, that made way too much sense to think we weren't going to get those guys. Yankees, I'd like to get some more of, honestly. Minnesota's up there against Gore. That's not crazy. He really has not looked right lately. Let's go into, here's what we're going to do. We're going to check our stack exposure across 3, 4, and 5 mans. And then I'm going to apply a manual boost here and see what type of exposures we get. Stack exposure, Houston 32, Baltimore 26. That's a lot. Minnesota 15, Tampa 11, Cleveland 11. There's Seattle at 10% against Soriano. I'm on board. Cincinnati, Yankees at 7%. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go in and we're going to boost. I want to boost Shota Imanaga. I'm going to give him a 15% boost. Okay. Now you don't have to do this, but I kind of like getting a little bit of him today. Maybe it doesn't make a difference. We're going to boost him. And then we're going to boost the Yankees 10% and see what happens. Now, the problem with this is we're boosting an expensive stack and an expensive pitcher. So does it move the needle at all? We're about to find out. Let's boost the Yankees 15% and see what we get. This worked out well for us with what we did yesterday. Right? Boosting Seattle brought down Kikuchi and helped us quite a bit. And gave us more Eric Lauer. Gave us a ton. Gave us way, way, way more. Fuck is his name? How am I just blanking on this? The Athletics pitcher. Severino. All right, so what does this do now? Let me unfavorite these and favorite them. 150. Exposures. Okay, now we're getting beautiful. Look, 3-man Yankees comes up to 9%, 4%, 4-man, 7% 5-man stacks. To me, that's great. We didn't go overboard. We're not fully overweight and overriding everything the Sims was giving us. No, we just went from 6% total Yankees to What are we at now? 19%. Brought Houston and Baltimore down a little bit. Flattened that out. 16% Minnesota, 12% Seattle. I love that. Those are some type of little adjustments I'd like to do, especially given that Taijuan Walker's propensity to give up power can end really badly, and the Phillies' middle relief guys are not good. So all of that kind of works in tandem with each other. Did we get any more Shota Imanaga? See, this is one of those things. Martin mentioned this actually in the interview I did with him, where he's like, if you were to boost a guy 15% and it hardly moves the needle, don't boost him another 30 just to get some, because the Sims are saying, hey, we've done tens of thousands of Sims runs. This just doesn't seem like the right. This is not a guy that looks great. And if you look at simulated player ROI, he has the second lowest simmed player ROI among every pitcher. The only player that's worse is Nathan Eovaldi today. So I'm not going to go overboard trying to get more of him. Matter of fact, you know what I'll do? I'll probably remove that boost on Shota Imanaga. Not that 0.6 to 2% makes a big difference, but yeah. Yeah. Anthony Soriano, 1 homer in 16 games. Yeah, he's allowed, I think, only 5 on the season. But he's also had some games where he's just been annihilated. And that's not true. He's allowed 2 homers over his last 5 starts. Against Washington, he gave up 8 runs. He gave up 5 to the Rangers just 3 starts ago. Not long ago, he gave up 7 runs to Boston. He's an odd one, man. He's a tough guy to pin down for sure. For sure. Anyway, individual exposures here. We'll take a look as we always do. And guys, one more heads up. If you just popped in late, 15% off today only. Any weekly or monthly sub that you want. MLB DFS is the promo code. All one word, MLB DFS. The link's right there in the description. You want core, you want max, weekly, monthly, all access, whatever it may be. 15% is a pretty big discount. All right. Let's go to our individual stacks here. Outfield, Tyler O'Neill. Aaron Judge, love it. Chandler Simpson, Tampa against Martinez. Altuve. Look, we have 6 guys, 23+%. Ramon Laureano and Shohei Ohtani. Okay, no one's going to argue that. Gunnar Henderson atop the shortstop exposures. Man, Sims like Baltimore today. Bobby Witt, we always get a lot of him. Mauricio Dubon, Carlos Correa. Third base, Jordan Westberg, Jose Ramirez, Royce Lewis. Anyone? Let's see. Westberg, Altuve, Jazz Chisholm. Cool. More Yankees. We'll take it. Willie Castro against Mackenzie Gore. Christian Walker for Houston against Springs. Getting him at $3,200. Shohei Ohtani. Okay. What about catcher? Yanni Diaz, $3,200. Those price points on Houston. I knew we were going to get them because they're so cheap. They're so cheap. Ryan Jeffers, Cal Raleigh, good. We'll take him. He's expensive, but we'll take it. Look, Springs gives up a wicked amount of power. 1.5 home runs per 9 this year. It's crazy. Crazy. 1.59 against righties. That tells us a lot, man. Tells us a lot. All right. And then, of course, as we always do, see if there's any home run plays. Use this live odds tool over at OddsShopper, guys. OddsShopper is our betting branch of Stochastic. But use it. This one's free. Of course, the Portfolio EV tool is free for your first week, where you're getting true market-based plus EV profitable bets, all of which have been back-tested across thousands and thousands of bet sample sizes. But if you just wanted to use it for free for the time being, the live odds tool can help you out, not just from a betting standpoint, but also from a DFS standpoint as well. Einsteinium, I get the Phillies are expensive, but this spot, yeah, that could be a spot you boost, man. Otto Lopez on BetMGM. Not a lot of plus EV spots popping up right now. So we'll come back and check later. Maybe those guys alive before lock can do it. Anyway, appreciate you guys. As always, you are the best. Love you very much. Check out the interview with Martin. You're going to love it. It's right here on the Stochastic YouTube channel. I think it'll do a lot to help you guys, whether you're a Sims user or not. Learn how to find these hedges. I was so happy that he's awesome dude that was very willing to divulge some information that a lot of people wouldn't do. And I think we should all be appreciative for that. Anyway, have a great day, guys. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you back here Monday. Check out the perfect lineup as well. It's only 7 minutes long. What better do you have to do with your time? Sure, you can find 7 minutes in your day. Do yourself a favor. Take a break. Watch the perfect lineup. And I'll see you back here for the next one. Bye-bye.